Welcome back to Behind the Print podcast, where we feature industry leaders and uncover the creative minds and their businesses within the world of professional printing. Our mission is to provide you with inspiring, actionable resources that elevate your business projects and accelerate your journey to excellence in profit and in print. Today's episode is the face of fun behind Artimation Studios, and joining me here today is the owner and artist of Artimation Studios, Dominique Robinson. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. So if you're ready, let's jump right into it. Sound good?
Yep, that's perfect.
So I saw on your website that you've been drawing since you were 9 and started selling your art when you were 16. What inspired you to take the big leap and start selling your work?
Honestly, I'd have to say my biggest inspiration was my parents. At first, I never really had like a real thought behind like drawing, but then when I found that like I could draw for other people and a lot more of my friends and my family were like really in love with a lot of my work that I kept making, I realized I was like, oh, I can actually do this and like sell it and make a little bit of money off of it.
Okay. So what can you tell me about your target audience?
I think a lot of my target audience so far is definitely for all, of course, but I have a lot of younger viewers who are constantly like watching my work. So they really like the bright colors, the decora, the aesthetic. I'm really into fashion. So a lot of people who are into J fashion, Harajuku style tend to really like my work. And then just in general, like families, what I used to for printing here was my coloring book that I have, which is just called Pretty Colors, but stuff like that is what really goes to like those demographics.
So I saw not only in your coloring book, but on your website, it looks like anime has a pretty big influence over your art style. Do you attend conventions and sell your artwork there?
Yes, I definitely do. I've been going to conventions for a while, I think, but a lot of my, I think once I started selling my work online, I started switching, and the coloring book was actually the first thing that I brought to my very first convention, I think back in 2021, maybe, or like right before COVID hit. So right in that little realm was where I started selling all my artwork.
So at these conventions, do you just sell artwork or do you do like custom works like portraits of people?
At the conventions, I usually am just selling like original artwork that's done by me. But I did recently, for the last like I think 2 or 3 years, I've done custom portraits. It's usually like a $5 or $10 sketch, but like you can leave me a picture of you or your dog or like a giant robot, and I will sit there and I'll do a quick one for you while all the guests like walk around and have a good time.
Okay, so as an artist, it's when you're selling your art, you have to maintain your creativity so you're still avoiding burnout. You're not a factory. So how do you go about like handling multiple orders?
Honestly, I had to really start working on plotting out my deadlines. I try not to take on more than 2 or 3 orders at once. A lot of my recent orders have been more car related, surprisingly enough. And although I know I said my demographic earlier is like family friendly and everything, I've drawn a lot of motorcycles and cars as of late with the bright colors, but I have to make sure that they're staying on time. So I try not to overwhelm. I give everybody like a week or so between like each commission that I get. And if you try and get an order in, I'll tell you, I'm like, oh, okay, like I have like 2 weeks between this. But you know, I'm a pretty fast worker. So I know for me, like burnout doesn't come necessarily as quickly.
Well, that pretty much did answer my next question, but how do you maintain your creativity? Like, is there some source of inspiration?
Honestly, I'm constantly looking for more niche audiences, I guess, to inspire me. I was actually in a bit of a rut a few months ago, in terms of like creating any kind of work. And it wasn't until I started now, my most inspiration was going to a lot of local car meets by me. And I realized I was like, oh, I can like draw this and it will be really fun. So I'm always constantly looking for new outlets for me to express myself, like put my own flair on something that's like, local.
Okay. So how do you stand out from other artists?
I would probably say I stand out the most just because I know, and this has been told to me before, it's like one, the color. It's not just like pastel. I know a lot of people will say that they're super colorful, but they kind of stay within pink and purple. Not that there's any problem with that because those are my two favorite colors. But I tend to have a variety of colors in my work and it's very out there. So I always tell people I have work that makes you want to look twice, as well as just like diverse characters. I focus a lot on the people that I draw and making sure that like people be like are seen. So whether it's somebody who's disabled and is in a wheelchair or they have vitiligo, like I love creating characters based on people who are not just like, pretty looking, but also real.
Okay. So you mentioned going to car shows. Now, attending anime conventions I can understand, but I wasn't really expecting you to be attending car shows. Do you do the same thing? Do you attend these car shows and people will approach you and say, "Hey, can you draw my car in a certain style?"
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a more recent development, but I realized I at first was just visiting the car shows just for fun. And then I started bringing my sketchbook, and it's very small. Like it's nothing too major, and they're very quick. But it was just a way for me to kind of like take my mind off of things. But people slowly like they started posting it on Instagram, and so people started like picking out slots for themselves. So like tomorrow, actually, I'm gonna go right back to a car show, and I have to draw somebody's I think like Ducati or something. But they'll like they'll section it off now, so they get a quick little sketch from me whatever size. And I think it's just it's another fun add-on to like the show that you're already at.
So do you just draw the car? Or do you draw like the owner in the car with like a cool pose or in a cool environment, like you said at the anime conventions, like next to a giant robot?
Right. I have yet to do the owner because usually the owners are walking around and like lingering and mingling with their friends. I would if somebody wanted to. I think the only difference would be because it's the main selling point for the car sketches is that it's a live sketch. So I'm not moving from the area that I'm at. Like they'll park their motorcycle somewhere where I can sit and I sit right in front of them or I sit right in front of their car and I do it when I'm there as opposed to like me taking a photo of them in the car and doing it. But if somebody asked me to, I would gladly do that. It'd be a lot of fun.
So what are some of the largest challenges that you've faced as an artist?
Definitely, I would say like taking on too many projects at once. That has been like my biggest detriment sometimes, but also just trying, I guess, like along with taking on too many projects, it's like the overload because I have so many ideas in my head. Like I've done custom work for a lot of different things. I have to make sure that I'm not completely, like you said, you mentioned earlier, like the burnout and everything. Like I have so much creative freedom when it comes to custom work that I'm so quick to just be like, okay, and then I'm done and I'm never gonna do it again. And my brain like dies on me. So I have to be careful with how much I'm taking in like creatively, if that makes sense.
Okay, very understandable. So in addition to like taking the big leap to start selling your work, can you tell me about any major milestones you've accomplished?
Honestly, my biggest milestone that I actually accomplished recently was getting accepted to do New York Comic Con.
Okay.
Um, that one's so big for me. That's been my dream since I started selling all of my work. So now I'm gonna be over there in October, and it's a 4-day convention. So that'll be my first time doing a large 4-day convention. But I'm super excited to do that.
Do you have your own booth and everything?
Yes, I do. I have my own little artist table in the alley or whatever. I think they're gonna like organize us or whatever else. But I'm just excited to see all of like the other artists and the other industry professionals there too.
Absolutely. That sounds very exciting. I'm actually quite jealous of that. So, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's trying to just start out their career as an artist?
Honestly, for me personally, I always tell people like your biggest enemy is yourself. So obviously, like you're gonna start off rough. Like I'd be lying if I said that I didn't start off super botched and crazy. But I think a lot of people are very, very nervous about getting into selling their artwork. And I always just tell them, I'm like, somebody like there's always gonna be somebody out there who wants to buy it. You don't think so, but it does like even if you're starting off super cheap, don't be afraid to put your art out there and that price out there for your artwork because there are people who bought that banana taped to a wall. So
I remember that for several million dollars too. So,
so if somebody's gonna buy a taped banana to a wall, they definitely gonna buy your artwork.
very good. So kind of a different question here. If you had a day to spend completely free, however you like, how would you spend it?
Sleeping, sleeping. I sleep so much. If I have the free time, I will take like a 4 hour nap if I could. Well, actually, not even if I could, I'll take a 4 hour nap. It's
Okay,
very cool.
so any ideas after your nap? Maybe,
Um, Actually, okay, I do. I will say I really do enjoy baking and cooking. When I have any other free time, very much so into like cooking for my friends and my family. I'll have people over when I have free time. I like to entertain.
okay, what's your favorite dish?
Ooh, hard question. I think traditional for like me, because I have a Jamaican background, I love ackee and saltfish. It's not something that you can really always get in the US, but it is like a breakfast meal. And I think ackee is like a fruit, but you like saute it with onions and peppers, and you can make fried dumpling. It tastes so
That
good.
sounds really good. So like a kind of like a savory sweet type deal.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very, very good. And you can eat it like I will eat it like a week in a row. If it's left there for me, it's so just like perfect.
Okay, well, one last question for you. How can our listeners get in touch with you to collaborate with you on a project, to commission an artwork, or order some of your art?
Well, you can find me. I'm the most active on Instagram, Artimation_Studios. There's an extra S at the end. And then definitely too, I'm also on TikTok. It's also the same platforms all around Artimation Studios. You can find me on those two platforms the most. But if you just want to reach out, Artimation Studios at Gmail is where you can reach me.
Okay. Well, did you have any other questions for me?
Um, Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'd say that's a wrap on another episode of Behind the Print. Thank you for joining us and good luck at Comic-Con.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us as we explored the artistry and innovation of the printing world. Remember, having a strong vision, building the right strategy, and using tools like print to amplify your message will make your brand stand out from the crowd. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to get a sample pack today from PrintingCenterUSA.com and share it with your fellow business enthusiasts. Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying, and remember, there's always more to discover behind the print.